back. The time is now.
Hey.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to NUFC Talk TV. The time is now. It seems one of those words that we've been saying since the start of this window. The time is now. And it's a never-ending saga at this point. Welcome to NUFC Talk TV with myself, the Geordie Yam Yam, on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon with obviously my main man, the Mighty Win, my right-hand man. But before we get into obviously today's show, I suppose we better do the housework and then we'll crack on with what we've got to tell you, which, again, some of it baffles belief. Welcome to everybody that's watching across all the platforms. Thanks to everybody that works in the background. Do an amazing job. Please, out there in Viewerland, you have been absolutely fantastic over the last few weeks. Please, help us again. Just hit that like button. Just give us a thumbs up. Or even if you don't like us, give us a thumbs down. But we've had so much support from you guys. It's been fantastic. Subscribe. It's totally free. Hit that bell for future content. We do, like I say, 7 days a week content, sometimes 2 shows a day. So if you hit the bell, you'll get that 30-minute notification. If you want to support us a little bit more, you can become a member. It's a small fee. You do get the different levels to choose from. And you also then can have a chance, if you want to come and join us on the Prediction League. It's going to be fun this season. I can feel it in my water. This is where you predict the scores of all Newcastle games throughout the season. If you're in the top 6 at the end of that season, you will get a prize.
I think we should start a new competition, Predict the Squad.
I don't think at this present moment in time, mate, that's going to be hard. It wasn't that hard last season. We've got less numbers now. If you've got a question for me or Win, then put a Q in front of it. Like I say, it ain't guaranteed to be mentioned. We have quite a bit to get through in a short period of time. So again, apologies for not mentioning everything that's in there. But if you want to guarantee it, then use the $sign. Really follow the instructions, and then obviously we'll read your message out. If you become a member during the show, or anybody out there that gives memberships will be highlighted and thanked as we go. Obviously, we had some news this morning about what was going on with Alexander Isak. So I thought we would start the show with that. So here we go. He's Keith Downey with his little message about what's happening at Newcastle's training ground.
2 players' names that you mentioned there, Darwin Núñez and Benjamin Sesko, are all linked to this, or potentially linked to this Alexander Isak situation. Of course, this all started a couple of weeks ago when Alexander Isak failed to travel with the Newcastle first team squad on their pre-season tour of Asia. He then decided to have a solo trip to Spain with his own backroom staff, his own individual staff, and get some rehab and some training there, really against the wishes of Eddie Howe and his backroom team at Newcastle. Eddie Howe said he found out about that trip through the media. So the optics of that weren't good. As we know, Isak returned on Saturday to the northeast. The Newcastle first team squad returned on Monday. They were given yesterday off and they're back in training just a couple of hundred yards over to my right hand side this morning. Eddie Howe has decided that he wants to have a kind of gathering, friends and family bonding session at the training ground today. So once the players finish training, which is just about now, I think, the players' families and children, wives, partners are all invited into the training ground for lunch and activities for the kids, just to try and ensure that everyone is together. Now, this isn't a new thing. They have it quite often here at Newcastle, but I think the timing of it interesting, given everything that's going on with Benjamin Sesko and Alexander Isak. But interestingly, Isak has been told to report once the gathering has ended. So he's to report late afternoon here to the training ground, where he will receive treatment and maybe train.
Right, so there you go. There's an exclusive, if you like, from this morning. But I have got some news to come across regarding that. A bit of an exclusive. All families, friends, and children refused to turn up at Benton training ground this afternoon, and instead they've got in touch with Manchester United to see if they can go to their summer barbecue instead. That seems to be how it feels at this present moment in time. and it doesn't matter
Or
what we.
Liverpool's or Chelsea's or Real Madrid.
Yeah, exactly. It seems as though whatever we try and arrange, it seems to be picked up from the others around us. So, sorry, I was being a bit flippant there, but unfortunately, the way I feel at this present moment in time, and me and Wynn have just been talking about it in the back, it does feel as though for every step forward, it's 3 steps backwards at the moment, doesn't it?
Well, with the Isaac the Isaac nonsense when it first kicked off, my big take on that was timing. You know, when did we know? When did he know? When did he decide? It was all about timing. My buzzword for today is perspective. That everybody, it's all doom and gloom because the media, the cartel-led mainstream media, are projecting Newcastle in such a bad light. That's been jumped upon by all of the social media warriors and accelerating the boulder down the hill. However, let's look at the reality of the situation. And that reality is that as it stands, we've got exactly the same squad that we had last season. Less Sean Longstaff, less Willock, if he's injured for a lengthy period of time.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we've got Alanga and Ramsdale into the squad. 2 internationals. So if you actually stand back and say and I keep saying there's still 3 weeks to go now. Depending on, let's judge this window on the 1st of September. And I know nobody wants to hear that because of all of the near misses that we've had by getting our targets nicked by other teams. But that in itself need not necessarily be classed as a negative thing, because what it means is that the players that we are trying to get on board are equally coveted by the teams around us who we are going to be competing with. And as Eddie said many times, he's not just going to buy anybody. Anybody that buys has to improve the squad, or be capable at some stage of improving the squad anyway. And the players that we've been linked with would all have done that, I believe. Now, the fact that we haven't signed them, of course it's disappointing. Of course I'm gutted, the same as everybody else is. However, there have been far, far worse periods in the history of the Toon. Trust me, when we were selling Gascoigne and Waddle and Beardsley and Supermark, they were dark, dark days. Where we are right now is in the Champions League, which we can offer to any potential player who's coming on board. And yes, we're going to face competition for those players because they're good. And so, yes, it's on the face of it, it's been an absolutely disastrous window. And I'm not going to argue with that per se, but there's still time to turn it all around.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point to what you've just said there that I love. You're always glass half full. You know what? That's what I said. For me, I can't. I've never been one of these guys that wants to see the bad side of anything, and that to me is the way I've always been. I've always been a positive type of person. Mentally, I've always tried to push the narrative in a positive spiel, or as much of a positive spiel as I can. And as I said to you, this feels to me at this present moment in time, I'm hurt because it feels to me like the time that we gave the 12 points away of winning the title. back in the 90s. I feel gutted. I feel as though we are throwing the potential of us becoming, one of the big clubs. And unfortunately, a lot of the issues that we have in this current situation isn't anything to do with Newcastle, because obviously the restrictions that have been put upon us, it's an outside force that we really can't control. What we can control, and it should have been something, I mean, you mentioned timing, something that I've mentioned in the past about timing. When people come and go through a door, timing is massive. And when we lost Mitchell at the end of June, the start of the transfer window, there was a massive gap within the structure or the infrastructure of the boardroom that hasn't been filled, that can't be filled with its current employees. Whether people are stepping up to the point and trying to force the issue. We've had Ruben now on board, flying out, rumours are that he flew over to Germany. But when you actually look at the squad, and I'm going to say it as a squad, because apart from actually not filling one space, these are, it's sorry times, isn't it? When you look at the players that we have. Let me just increase that a little bit so you guys can see it better on the TV. When you look at these players, Ekatike, Delap, Sesko, Cunha, Kudus, Joe Pedro, Mbueno, Huyson, Gahey and Trafford, one player short of an entire squad of failures. Obviously, social media now are throwing absolutely everything at us regarding, a laughingstock. And it seems to me, and we were talking to Dr. Almore, and I saw him in the chat. Nice to have you on board, guys. Everybody in the chat. We will come to some of the messages that I've just started to start in a second. It's not something that you look at and it fills you. I mean, I saw yesterday, and I spoke to Big Yanks yesterday, and said, this is an ambitious pull towards any club going for these type of players. You can't really class Delapas in there because he is an up and coming player, but he's proven that he can perform at this level in a lesser team. So he was certainly one that got through the net. When you look at the rest of the squad, you think, yeah, this is a club that's showing ambition. But who is selling the deal? And we said this yesterday. You've got to have closers. Paul Montgomery on the Northeast BBC said exactly the same. We're not aggressive enough within the setup. And to me, listening to Simon Jordan this morning, there was a bit of a spiel about Newcastle again failing. Now, I wanted to ask you guys, and especially your involvement, your input on the following. Now, according to all reports, and again, we heard the here we go from Fabrizio Romano, and it was that he's agreed the contract with Manchester United, and everything was looking hunky-dory for a move across towards Manchester. But for me...
But he's also had a here we go to Newcastle.
Yeah, but to me, when the clubs haven't agreed a contract or they haven't negotiated the structure of the deal, how can we have a here we go? Because the clubs are still finalising the contracts, the deal. It hasn't been agreed across the board. So I do find the whole, here we go saga before it's actually, dealt the final blow. Now, listen, he wants to go to Manchester United. Absolutely fair play to him. They've sold the project better than Newcastle did. Fair play. But I wanted to ask you guys, we've just obviously, I want you to have your say in the chat. What is it that we are doing wrong? Now, where has it all failed? Is the timing of Paul Mitchell going through the door the catalyst for this? Has there been something happening in the background since the Amanda Staveley saga, because obviously that brought again a lot of emotive reasons for why she left, and then you hear the rumours that she was getting a bit backstabbed by some of the board members, and it became an untenable situation. So, for me, it's a case of as soon as Amanda went through the door, we seem to have gone further and further back as a team, as a club, as a united, if you like. And I say that as a united front.
And there's the key, isn't it? United. When Amanda was here, everybody was pulling in the same direction. There was no friction anywhere that anybody could see. And not only that, but we had Amanda facing up to the press, doing brilliant PR work. It was all hunky-dory, happy clappers, anonymous. And that was the trajectory of the club then. It's continued to a degree, but with nowhere near the same positivity coming out of the club and being reflected in the media that was the case then. Everything was flowers and roses and fairies at the bottom of the garden, and the media have now decided, no, we can't have that. Newcastle problems, great story, we'll get loads of hits. Let's go down that road. And the club are doing absolutely nothing to counter that. The noise from the boardroom is the silence from the boardroom is deafening.
Yeah, I've got my camera's faulty again, Win. I'm just going to jump out and I'm going to come back in again. So carry on, mate.
Yeah, we'll get to a few of the comments here. Well, stored ones. So we've got Punt Mags is saying Hopkinson's needs to come in and clean the house. Too much incompetence and inexperience at all levels behind the scenes. Couldn't agree more. Dr. Abwesa, welcome home. Guys, it's imperative we reintegrate Isaac into the squad through a healing process to achieve the collective objective of success. Well, I've been an advocate of that from day one. If there's any way at all that we can reintegrate Isaac into the squad, it can only benefit Newcastle United, and that's all I'm bothered about. It's going to involve no doubt apologies and public utterances from here, there and everywhere. Just get it done. Is the reason that he's been told to report to the training ground when everybody else is gone? Could it possibly be the case that Yasser's going to be there with Eddie to have a long sit down? That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping he's there for. I can't believe he's going in just for rehab or whatever. I'm saying rehab. I think we're pretty much all agreed that there's no very much wrong with him. But
no, I don't think there's a lot wrong with him, like you say. But the thing for me, it was more was more the fact that we don't seem to have a lot of pulling power. I'm just going to go into a couple of quotes in a moment about obviously what's been said in the past. It's not historical past, but I mean it's what's been said before certain things have happened in the club. But I thought I'd better go and just do a couple of chats before we move further afield. So Paul Morris, I didn't want to think this at this point, but we are already got one of the best strikers in the world, and his Sweden teammates joined to assist him. Hope Eddie gives him a kick up the arse. Yeah, I just think, like I say, that as we saw with Dr. Almore yesterday, players respond to two different things: the arm around the shoulder,
carrot and the stick.
Yeah. And obviously a bit of motivation to get the heads back onto it. The other thing, which was a very good point by Dr. Almore yesterday, was the fact that, unfortunately, again, this was Eddie trying to put a bit of cotton wool around him and throw him under a blanket. It could have been, unfortunately, the wedge between him and the club, because all he's been surrounded with, as we said yesterday, is negativity from social media, from all media speculation, and also his agent. That's been just pecking at him in the ear, because the agent works for Isaac. Isaac works for Newcastle. He's contracted under Newcastle, but he's not. If you're not in direct contact with your employees, you are unfortunately left to listen to one side of the story, and that is just going to be him being persuaded to go away because it's more money in the purse. But thanks, Paul, for your invite. It's a crazy world. Can apparently be women. It's a crazy world. Dudes can apparently be women. Has come up with this question. Why are these breaking reports, Isaac told, not to come to the ground?
Why are they breaking?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like we said.
How's it new?
How's it new? Did everyone not listen to Eddie when he said he wouldn't have the right to train with the squad? How is this a surprise? It ain't, mate. Is it?
I'm getting that's me getting told off too now. Nah, Win, you've got rose-tinted glasses on.
The black and white tinted.
When Newcastle are concerned, always will have.
But you're right, mate. It's not breaking news. I mean, this is exactly how Eddie Howe wants to deal with things, isn't it? Let's have a look at that one on the screen. The real McCoy. Thank you, my friend. Won't have no pulling power with an English manager. And that's an interesting one, because I'm going to show a video in a second about some of the discussions that was made this morning, and that actually came up. So we're going to get onto that one. But thank you so much for your contribution. Pot Mags. Hopkinson needs to come in and clean the house. Too much incompetence and inexperience at all levels behind the scenes. Now, that is a really good point. Again, when we lost Dan Ashworth to gardening leave, Hopkinson was involved. No, it wasn't Hopkinson. It was that other lad that come on board and helped out behind the scenes with the DOFs and all the decision making. There was somebody who filled the void as a short fill. Was it Hopkinson?
No, Hopkinson's the
new CEO, isn't he?
Real Madrid and Toronto whiz kid.
It's somebody with a name similar to that. And he helped us out while Ashworth was on gardening leave. And again, if you listen to a lot of the rumours, Paul Mitchell was also in the background dealing with stuff, obviously not involved with Newcastle, but obviously he was involved in Newcastle at some point.
2 seconds, Gary. How are you, lads? There's 760 people watching now, and we're
882 over both platforms.
83 likes. That's just on YouTube. So jump out the chat for 3 seconds, hit the like, because it really helps to push the channel forward. Thank you very much.
You've done that one with Dr. Almar about Imperative.
Yeah.
That's cool. And you've done that one with the rose-tinted glasses. And then obviously we've got Darren Lee. The ownership model at boardroom level needs to be reviewed and changed to improve the club going forward. Again, this is something that I think is dramatically wrong. And I've said that for a period of time. But before we get into that, let's have a quick look at this video that come out. I'm just going to try and make it so it sits... I don't think I can, which is a pain in the backside because it never seems to fit this window. So I'm going to do my best to try and make it fit without ballsing it up, because that's what I always tend to do as well. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. There you go. So this is a video that was put out this morning by Simon Jordan, who was obviously, talking about NUFC and the saga so far, and everything else. And there was some good questions that came in. This is around about 8 minutes long, and again, I don't want to go through the entirety because there is some really good, valid points. So if this gets boring, please just put your thumbs up saying switch it off in the background, because like I say, I don't want you guys to listen. But like I said, there's love and hate between Simon Jordan and a lot of fans, but sometimes he does come out with some sense. So here we go.
Simon, this question: if a different, more well-established manager had been in charge of Newcastle, does he think it would have been a different matter with Sesko? I guess we can broaden it out to all the signings that I've read out before
Well,
the
it depends
break.
what you think a better, more established manager looks like. I think Eddie Howe's profile, reputation and regard is in quite high order. I mean, he's likely to probably be the next England manager. I think he conducts himself excellently. He's team player brand of football that most people enjoy watching. And they've won a League Cup and got into the Champions League. Now, yes, he doesn't have the stardust name of XYZ manager, whether it's Mourinho from the past or whether it's XYZ.
Klopp or Guardiola.
Klopp, yeah. But he still has enough cachet and presence and wherewithal to attract people's attention.
Yeah.
And of course, players in the dressing room are a big part of that as well. The players that know one another across the circuit, across the industry. You know, you've got some names in there like Tonali that have played in big clubs and players that are in other areas that are big players.
Big players.
Yeah, that will be part of the equation.
This one's coming.
I thought that was a really good point, you know, because we were questioning whether Eddie Howe has got the pull. And like I say, he's not the big name. We know that. But again, it's about selling the project. When you're looking at the trajectory of Newcastle United over his tenure, since he came on board October 21, it's been positive. It's been very direct, selling to the players that are already been brought into the team, have all done the job that were asked of him. The real McCoy again, just coming on board. City didn't start win until they had a foreign manager. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? Are you telling me that Maresca is a bigger name than Eddie Howe in football?
No.
So Pedro didn't go to Chelsea because of Maresca.
No, he went for money.
He went to Chelsea because of Chelsea.
Yeah, and it's money.
I don't believe that, you know, if Sesko goes there and Buemo, I don't believe they went to Man United because of Amaron. It's because of Amarin. Sorry, it's because of Man United. It's the name, and I don't even think. Okay, you can argue he's got a Premier League title behind him now, but is Slot a bigger name than Eddie
At the
Howe?
time, no.
I don't think so. You can argue he is now because he's won the Prem, but again, the narrative there is basically he won it with Klopp's squad.
Let's go back to that question then. Yeah, Man City didn't win anything until they got a foreign manager. But what Man City had before the foreign manager was the ability to spend money.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, you've still got to have a coach in line that's got that vision, that has that playing style, that aggression, if you like, to get the best out of his squad and motivation. And I agree massively and wholeheartedly on that. And this is where I question, you know, when people talk about elite managers don't need money to win things. And I said, well, look at Vincent Kompany. He gets relegated with Burnley and yet wins the league with Bayern Munich. So, again, going into a squad of ability that was bought before you, or whether you were able to purchase players that fit the void, you've got more chance of winning something. And again, you know, you've spoke about this so much win. In history, all the clubs that get the higher wages, that pay the higher wages, will always win something. And that is fact. We are restricted because of PSR, because of what happened with Mike Ashley. And again, you know, all this slur that's now happening with the Manchester United fans, the Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans, and alike, I should say et al., if I wanted to reference properly. For me, if you were in our shoes, and if the shoe was definitely on the other foot, you would feel exactly the same as any Newcastle fan. And it's got nothing to do with history, what's happened in the past. If we were allowed to pay wages, the same as the cartel, if we were allowed to go and spend the same as the cartel have been, we would certainly be knocking on the door to compete across across the league, across the domestic cups, and potentially in the Champions League, because you can buy into it. You can't compete unless you pay the wages. Now, these players
Yeah, but
are going to the bigger clubs because they've got the wage ceiling.
Yeah, but it's just getting back to the point, though. I honestly do not believe that if you take away, I don't know, Pep, you know, Ancelotti's the superstar manager.
Yeah, but Ancelotti did nothing at Everton.
With the pedigree they've got. Well, but he won the league at when he had the money to spend.
That's what I'm saying.
At Chelsea, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, he attracted players to Everton. What did they do? But, you know, we're constantly facing. Chris has got a post on X at the minute, which is going absolutely crazy. Man United fans, your entitlement is louder than the Old Trafford leaks. Laughing stock of football, a burial site for young players. You're begging taxpayers for a new stadium while the Glaziers drain £1.1 billion. Leaky roofs, rodent-infested stands, and cutting players' meals. Even worse, slashing funds for a charity helping ex-players' funerals. That's not just skint, that's scum. Yet your chance, biggest club in the world. Bayern, Real Madrid, Barca, Liverpool, Milan, laugh at your delusions. Newcastle fans don't claim to be giants. We fight your rigged rules with grit. You, clinging to Fergie's ghost, trolling from your mum's basement with cookie crumbs on your stomach to make yourselves feel better. But face it, Man United is a washed-up circus and you're just a bunch of entitled clowns.
Yeah. It was... It's a good read, if I'm honest. But you know, when we look at it, when you play it all back, what we've got is a situation on board where we're trying to find out exactly where the domino effect of failure came from. Now, I don't like to say the word failure, but I think what we have, especially shown in this window, is a failure of some ilk. And it's a case of, you know, again, I'll go back to, I hope I've still got it set up here. There's me with all these open things. And it's a strange one because wherever you go, you're talking about what people have said in the past. And Paul Mitchell, I don't know whether you the conversation going back in 24. He admitted about the ambition of Al Rumayyan with PIF because there was a lot of questions about the inclusion of PIF and whether they're actually still involved with Newcastle. And again, you know, you have to question who's pushing the narrative. If we've got a void in the back room staff, if there's a gap that isn't being filled, surely the owners, the same as you've seen with Maricanas at Nottingham Forest, he's saying to you guys, listen, you know, I am not allowing people below me. I'm the owner of this club, and if I don't think that this is right, I am stepping in. And it doesn't seem, and again, I hate to say that we're failing, but we are. And I think it is definitely something that PIF could have got involved with earlier on when these failings start to appear. And it seems as though, like now, you know, who decided to get Ruben to fly to Germany to try and close this deal? Who was it? Was it Al Rumayyan realising now that, you know what, we are struggling to close deals, so I need one of our boys to go out there and see if they can do it for us. And unfortunately, like I say, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to have materialised. But
if, for example, it turned out, just bear with me, the Sesko deal. So Rubens flies out to conclude the Sesko deal. Now, we already know that we upped the bid from 75 million euros plus add-ons to 80 million euros plus add-ons, taking potentially up to 90 million euros.
Yeah.
Right? If whoever was negotiating before Rubens flew out was told that his limit was 85 million. But then Ruben flies out, and let's say he'd successfully concluded the deal, which we were all told yesterday that he had done, for 90 million. It doesn't prove that Rubens is ingenious. It just says that he was empowered to spend that extra money. And this is what I've been asking for weeks now. Who is deciding what the price is? And I don't believe it's Eddie, I don't believe it's Andy, and I don't believe it's Steve Nixon. But we don't know who it is. Who took Liverpool's bid for 110 million, allegedly? We've got no idea. It certainly wasn't Eddie. He was in Japan. In Korea, sorry. So who actually is doing it? And suddenly things look to be moving along because the chairman came over, but that's suddenly died a death because we still haven't got Sesko through the door. We still haven't got Gay through the door for after him. Apparently we've put a 30 million euro bid in for Malik Chow at Milan, which has been knocked back. So who decides whether we're going? It's a Gazzetta dello Sport says that they're expecting another offer. And is this now? Have we now established a precedent that clubs know with Newcastle, if you knock back their first offer, they'll come back with a higher one, which again was the worry back in the day before the Isaac nonsense raised its ugly head.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, you're looking at it. I mean, I've just been looking at Mason had sent there from Patrick Berger that confirmed the bid had gone in for Malik Chow. I didn't realise that there was a sell-on point to that as well, though, which was a strange one. So apparently there's a 10% transfer profit to Schalke on Chow. So maybe that's the reasons why it was knocked back, because again, you've got to think of Schalke will get 10% of the deal. So are Milan looking to again exploit more cash from Newcastle? And is this part of the Newcastle tax? I don't know. Like I said, we just seem to be whipping boys from every aspect. Whether you go in there now, that by all accounts they were so willing to move Chow out, and because the deal fell through with Como, now all of a sudden the deal is closed. They don't want to get rid of him anymore. Now, again, there's people we've seen, and again, you've got to question it. Are we too late in going for signings that we highlighted at the start of, the end of the window in January? There was a potential to go in for him back then. And now, obviously, at the start of this window, still available. Then he was taken away because obviously there was potentially he was going to move anyway. And everything was agreed apparently with Como. So what is going on with these clubs when it comes to Newcastle? It just seems as though we've got this this dark cloud over us, and they are shying away from negotiating with us. And again, have we got the people in the right places to sell the deal? The offer's gone in. It's a low ball offer.
Obviously, we haven't.
No, obviously, and that's the thing. But going back to the conversation, what I was saying at the start, and this is like obviously what was said back in 24, and it was an interaction between Mitchell and Al Ramayan, who obviously then was talking about the recruitment, and there was a good sentence, and he goes on, and these are his words. I only know from my interaction, I can't speak for anyone else, but he's super ambitious and he wants us to perform at the number one level. We all heard that from Al Ramayan, from his mouth. He wants us to perform not only through the money we spend, he wants us to be the best in class across everything we do, whether it be youth development, the women's team, scouting and recruitment, data and insight, coaching and innovation. Now, for me, like I said before, why haven't PIF got on board when clearly we are nowhere near the top 10 when it comes to that recruitment side of it? So they must have seen there was a gap when Mitchell left. Yes, there was talk everywhere that Mitchell had handed over the reins to a lot of players. Paul S, 1999, thank you so much. Enlighten me, please. Did Man United violate league rules, or did Sesko just choose Man United? Yeah, apparently he's just chosen Man United.
It's still not a done deal.
It's still not a done deal yet. He's just agreed contracts, which is very similar to what Offer apparently gave him, a 5-year deal. Obviously, we put down a higher bid, but he's chosen Manchester United. Now, there is, like I said, yesterday, there's a lot to chalk into this. And it's like it's not about us putting the higher bid in. It's about whether that extra £10 million in bonuses is achievable, what Newcastle have put down, or whether it's more achievable with what Manchester United have put down. And the way that Amrim now is building Manchester United is the chance of him playing Champions League football this season, less of a pull than what Manchester United have proposed, potentially being a Champions League player for seasons to come after the rebuild, and they want him being part of that rebuild. It's all hindsight. Nobody can predict the future, and again, we can't really sit here and say that Manchester United will always be a place to go to retire, because you've made. I mean, I know they haven't been great in player production over the last 10 years, but that doesn't mean that Amrin can't change things. And again, this is what I said. It's about selling the project. We just seem to have failed miserably at selling the project to any of them, 10 out of 11, if you like, players, because we've only got the one really through the door, which is Alanga, for 55 million. And to me, 1 in 10 coming through the door is a poor average, isn't it?
It's very poor, but you've got to put it in the context of who have lost out on those players too. Whether you like it or not, you've just got to accept your place in the pecking order with regard to, legend clubs, for want of a better expression. They are going to have a bigger pull than we are. However, the bit that I can't forgive is the negotiation side of things. Who this is what I can't get my head around. Who was doing? I'm pretty sure if we, offered 70, let's say, for Pedro, and equitable wages to Chelsea, I think we might have got him. I think Brighton might have been more. They're obviously getting more money out of it. His agent could get a bit more money out of it, etc., etc. So I think that's a deal that could possibly be done, and we know Eddie wanted him because he's been chasing him for a few years now. So whilst, yes, Chelsea in this century, shall we say, have been a much bigger club than Newcastle have. I suppose when you think how old players are, that's all they've ever known. They can't remember Newcastle being one of the biggest clubs in the world, and that's how the mighty have fallen. And you've only got to look at Man U, look as though they could be on a very similar decline. Although again, with modern media, social media, that has coincided with the globalization of the Premiership, shall we say. Obviously, with them being there at the start, them and Arsenal, they are massive worldwide compared to everybody else, because when the Premiership first came about and Sky did a brilliant job in getting it broadcast worldwide, it was just Arsenal and Man U that were fighting for the title. Even Liverpool by then had dropped out of the, their cycle had come to a bit of an end. And then Chelsea came along, and then Man City came along, and now you've got Man City as the biggest revenue earners in the world in front of Real Madrid. So it's all about, it gets back to timing again, and we've hit at the wrong time when the big four have suddenly become the big six, and the big six do not want it to be a big seven or a big eight or a big nine, because there's only 4 places guaranteed up for grabs in the Champions League, and that's where the big bucks is.
Yeah, I mean, it is a crazy one, and like I said, Paul S, who's put in the $19.99. When you say did Man United violate league rules, I don't know. I mean, Chris is coming and saying that they have changed the rules to stop us from spending. It's not just Manchester United. What you've got to understand is 14 clubs have to back this, this rule. And obviously it's been sold to the other 14 clubs to back the rule, to stop us spending money. So, and again, there's something, part of me that thinks, and I remember us being part of that 14 to agree the deal. But again, part of me thinks that it was to try and stop the Elite Six moving further afield and close the gap. Because we weren't allowed to spend money, it meant nobody else was allowed to spend money. But the commercial revenue.
Well, at the time that PSR was brought in, that was when we had Ashley.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The commercial revenue, when you look at it, there's always been a massive void between the clubs and Newcastle because of, unfortunately, Mike Ashley's Sports Direct venture.
Who virtually got free
sponsoring.
Free advertising.
Yeah.
Stadiums, everything was Sports Direct related. Newcastle United was nothing more than a publicity machine for Sports Direct as far as Mike Ashley was concerned.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to the video this morning because, there's a lot of public domain out there now saying that Newcastle aren't a big club, and again, this was a question that was put forward to
define big.
Yeah, well, exactly. Here we go.
I mean, Newcastle are only a big club in Newcastle. 1 trophy in 70 years. United have been bleep for 12 years and still won trophies.
Yeah, we agree. I mean, I always say that. I used to say it to the late Freddie Shepherd. You're a big club in Newcastle, but they're a big club, and their noise is significant now. And yes, they're right. They've only won 1 trophy, and the whole nation came out in seemingly admiration for Newcastle winning the trophy, and didn't quite seem to get the same energy in the media for Palace winning the FA Cup, which is the bigger cup. Anyway, put aside my personal bias in that instance. I think that Man United has all the appeal that we know it has, but it has all the challenges. That it's a mess. It's got fans that are protesting the first game of the season. It's got people that aren't performing at levels. It's got people that, as an exodus of players that are supposedly top players that don't want to be there. They've got a manager that pees all over it every time he possibly can. You've got owners that no one likes. And you've got the huge pressure and expectation of a club that does carry all that legacy. So there's lots of reasons why Manchester United is not... shouldn't be the given choice. And I without being critical, because I'm not privy to the conversations, people have got to up their games at Newcastle, perhaps, and up the woo that they're pitching. In
terms of that one-to-one direct pitch, as opposed to going through agents. If Alex is to believe that the strategy was to secure the club, the club is the easiest part of the equation to secure. Just pay them what they want. The player is the more difficult part of the equation. The player is the one that needs to be convinced. The player is the challenging aspect. The club you can sort out, because the club will take the best offer. It's geographical, sort of.
Well, that isn't the case with us, though, is it? When you think about it, when you say, he's just said there, the club will take the best offer. The club haven't taken the best offer. And it's a case of when you look at it, if you think that we have offered more to get Sesko, right? The club have agreed it was a good deal, but then they've gone back to Sesko, and I've said this from the outset. It was something that was sent to me, a good friend of mine, and he turned around and said, what they're trying to do is soften the blow to get Højlund in. Now, if they agree to Newcastle's terms, all that does is put a wedge in them going forward to try and get the player that they want, which is Højlund. So they've agreed a deal with Manchester United, which is less money, but what it does give them is a bit of a softener to try and tempt Højlund to go the other way. And it will only be a loan, I believe. But again, it's a tactic that psychologically, and again, I'm sure Dr. Almar can tell me in the chat whether it works, because I know it does work in the past. And it's like, it's the old forte. If you go and speak to somebody, if you're selling something and you keep nodding your head and the other person in front of you that you're selling to nods their head back, it means that they're understanding and they're following your way of thinking. And that's when you can propose the deal, because they're in agreement with you, because they're nodding their head. You know, and that's what a lot of people have said to me in the past when I'm watching me back in the chat and I'm watching the video again to try and better myself, if you like. It's nice to feed back on, you know, and again, on my own worst critique at times. I often see myself nodding my head in agreement with the other panelists that are talking. And the same goes when I'm talking or reading things out. So, you know, it is a good selling point. If you can get the other person to actually nod your head to the agreement, you can push the view. And again, you know, it's said from the outset, Sesko, I believe, again, you can hit the rumours, all the betting shops, if we all say, better gambling bookies don't ever really get it wrong. They flip-flop so many times over this deal. It's untrue.
Have.
So, you know, you tell me what's been coming out of that camp, because I couldn't tell you.
Well, like I say, Romano's had Here We Go on Sesko to Man U and on Sesko to Newcastle. You know, he's famous, Here We Go. It's bullshit. That's what it is. And you know, the one thing that's apparent is that our negotiating team are, to quote Paul Mitchell, unfit for purpose. If you had to believe everything that's allegedly gone on with all of these failed transfers that we've been attempting this summer.
Yeah.
But I mean, Mark Rayson's in the chat there. Bless you, Mark. Newcastle would be a massive club if they were allowed to be. We have the fans and now the owners who aren't allowed to invest in their own business. How ludicrous is that? Corrupt. Challenge it. And I think it's just a matter of time. If PIF have still got the same drive and interest in making Newcastle what they want it to be, number one, then sooner or later there's going to have to be some legal challenges from us.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really strange scenario to be in at the minute. And thanks ever so much. I don't know who sent me this, but I've just had a message come through from Stefan Borson, who, again, going on to what the gentleman before who sent the super chat, looking at the legalities, if you like. And this is from the Stefan Borson. Let me just put on the screen. In buying Sesko, this is Stefan's post. In buying Sesko before selling any of Rashford, Anthony, Sancho, Højlund or Garnacho, it's pretty clear that, like many before him, Ratcliffe has lost his financial rationality to football. Again, whether there's any legalities in this, because again, Manchester United, even though they've not won anything, their commercial business is phenomenal. Now, what you have got with Rashford now being off the books, he's saving them around about £15 million. But again, I don't think, you know, it's not something that they'll see now. So again, I don't see anything in that that's been unlawful. I just think they're potentially kicking the can further and further down the road, and that potentially could mean that some dinner ladies get the boot for getting Sesko in, because it is run poorly. And I'm not being funny, I didn't want to bring this up because I do find it so distasteful, right? And again, forgive me for all those Manchester United guys in the chat, but when a club, according to the fan base, as big as you are protesting against the ownership at Manchester United for the first game of the season with the phrase, Jim can't fix it, it's bad taste, mate. That is, to me, is such a bad taste. With obviously all the, as we all know, that goes beyond that. So again, for a big club to come out with things like that, that is not good. That's not good promotion and PR for me. But again, you look at it for what it's worth, and financially, we've got the money. It's not the finances. The biggest problem is wage cap. Where does the wages come? If you can't break £180,000, which seems to be the thing at the minute, 180,000 is the most anybody's going to get. Who are you going to really encourage to come?
Well, no, I mean, I think Isak will have been offered more than 180,000. I think
200. I think he was offered on the table.
I think it'll probably be more than that. But again, I've never seen any definitive article about how much he was offered. If he's actually been offered, I mean, again, what's he being asked to go into training for this afternoon? Because that could be part and parcel of the rehabilitation process for Isak. That he's actually going to sign a new contract, and so he is fully back in the fold, and then he'll have to and then he'll have to train accordingly to rehabilitate himself with the rest of the squad, because that's an important thing. You wonder what the rest of the squad are feeling right now with what his antics have been, and again, Eddie needs to stamp on it hard to make sure that it doesn't become an epidemic. That they all can just turn around and say, all right, well, nah, I want this, and if I don't get it, I'm going to explore other options.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's the way it's been handled. But again, as Dr. Elmore said, maybe that is the point that comes away from it, is the fact that we have been left in the mire. Because he's been left on his own, and he's been able just to draw in all the bad side of it rather than the positive side of it, and that's by being around his teammates.
Yeah, but again, that's been self-inflicted. It was him that decided, not to go on tour. Him that decided to go training by himself.
Yeah, but was that counteracted by Eddie Howe saying, "I don't want you at Celtic"? If you're feeling pushed away, you got me. It's a negative stance, isn't it? Again, I'm not privy to the conversation that's been had. It's Jordy
Terry
Dan.
Thomas saying block the whoppers, because that's all we're getting in the media at the minute.
Oh, absolutely. Just seen someone mention it's in the super chat. It's illegal rules. Borson think this is financial madness by Man U. And again, it's Jordy Dan. Thanks, Jordy Dan. Well, and again, you look at the annual wage bill. It is bonkers. I better put this up on the screen, I suppose. But I mean, it is ridiculous, the amount of money. But thank you so much with Jordy Dan for throwing this up for me. There you go. And like I said, when you look at the annual wage bill, you understand why these clubs win everything, because it's fact. The more you spend on player wages, the higher the caliber of the player, the bigger you're going to pull in players, as in the elite players coming towards you. Manchester United, unfortunately, have failed miserably at some of their elite players. But I mean, again, you go from what you can see here. It's crazy, isn't it? The amount of money being spent on players' wages these days.
But not by us.
Yeah, not by us. 95. We are miles away.
Well, I think that must be out of date because we are over. We've just gone over.
Just got over
100
100. Yeah.
But by that same token,
as you can see at the top, it says 24, 25, doesn't it?
City and Chelsea have now topped 300. So I don't know whether they don't quite match the figures that I had.
Well, that's what I said.
But I mean, to be fair, Dan Ashworth said when he first came in the Amazon documentary that points in the Premier League are absolutely straight line collatable with wages spent. The more you spend, the more points you get.
Yeah.
The more you spend on wages, the more points you get.
Yeah, I was just going to say this one's a little bit out of date because, as you can see at the top, it says 24-25 season. So again, you don't know what part of the season that came out of before. Like you say, I do remember you saying that we were over the 100 bracket now. So I mean, like I say, but again, I think that is a good way of looking at it, though, isn't it? All the top clubs that pay the money out to players will always achieve the silverware. And again, you look at the highest earners in the league, all with the biggest commercial revenue. They're always going to be pushing that way, and there's never going to be a closure of the gap, because by bringing out this bill, if you like, with your you can only spend against your commercial incomings. We were never going to achieve anything. It's great to see. Bobby, why did I get blocked? Says James Wall. I don't know why you got blocked, unless you're saying something wrong, James. Bless him. He's sending me a new one. Let me have a quick look at this one now. Aha! Here we go. This is the total weight. So I'm going to pop this one up. So this is an updated one. Unfortunately, we were a little bit away. So you've got that one up on the screen there. One that you've got. I've got.
That was what I did in July last year.
And that's with all the European, isn't it?
That's just coming a bit. That's us at the bottom. And in the Premier League alone, we're behind Spurs, Villa, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man U, and Man City.
Yeah, so I'm going to just move mine across now because that has changed, and this is the new one. So you've got Paris Saint-Germain at the top, Man City, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Dortmund, Atletico Madrid, Juventus. I mean, 16th we are in the grid.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks volumes.
And I think that's the same pecking order with regard to the Prem, isn't it?
To the Prem. So, like I say, I mean, we are well beyond.
We are batting and have been for 4 years well above our weights. We are getting Miss World when we should be getting the local donkey.
Oh dear, that is some analogy.
And this is why I can't accept the doom and gloom that we're going through, man. This is a wonderful period in history, and yes, there's little things going wrong now. There's the odd fly in the ointment, but if you look at the bigger picture, put everything into perspective, we're in the Champions League, for God's sake. We've just won our first trophy.
Yeah.
And we've signed 2 current internationals. Yes, it could be better. Of course it could. But it could be a damn sight worse. We could still have Ashley in charge and be fighting relegation every season.
Yeah. I mean, these are some of the rumours, and obviously there's still potential that a lot of this could be is outdated now. So because obviously and again, this just goes to prove that as of yet, nothing has been finalised between RB Leipzig and Manchester United. So here we go. These are the current rumours and the transfer news which we put together. And Alexander Isak, again, the rumour's still there. 22 minutes ago, this is Jamie Carragher expressing his concerns over Liverpool's proposed 150 swoop. But again, I've just had a look, and the rumours now is obviously Liverpool are potentially looking for a defender. I think that could be Mark Guéhi. And another rumour that came out this morning from Liverpool, they're going for Ramos, believe it or not. Or they're thinking of going for Ramos. Doesn't that surprise you? Another striker that we've been linked to.
It doesn't surprise me, and I'll tell you that Liverpool are going for Ramos because I think Liverpool might have given up on Isak. And to me, that's only a good thing. I know there's loads of the fan base, if you believe social media, who think he should never pull a black and white shirt on again. I am certainly not in that camp, and anything that we can do for him to find a way back into the squad can only be good for Newcastle. And if he does pull a black and white shirt on again, for to get his dream move away if he wants it, and for to take part in the World Cup 2026, he's going to have to perform.
Yeah, I think Isak, like you said, he's gone because of the Sesko saga. So obviously they are looking now at the Jota replacement. Somebody's just put that in the chat. So yeah, again, yeah, they've always wanted two strikers because obviously Nunez now going to another PIF ventures in Saudi, and that is another one. A lot of messages coming
This is
through.
a crazy one that I can't understand. Al Hilal, also owned by PIF, and were given Liverpool 70 million quid, which they can then potentially use to buy Isak.
Yeah.
Madness.
Yeah, crazy. And I think that is the other side of the coin, isn't it? And this is where I said, when you've got a powerhouse, if you like of PIF, that have got the feet in a couple of streams, and they have to find success in every revenue or an avenue that they're taking, because they are seen as big people within the golf industry now, if you think about it. And I go back to what I said before about being aggressive and taking the bull by the horns. When you look at the likes of PIF in the golf industry, taking live golf against the PGA and really forcing the issue and standing up against them and saying, I want to be bigger than you. They seem to have not done that in the football fraternity. They seem to have taken a yard back. And again, this was what I said before, when they had to come begging with cap in hand with Amanda Staveley, when they had that lawsuit against them. Was there some agreement, like a gentleman conduct type of scenario, where they've said, you can't be Johnny Big Bollocks against us going forward? Is there something written down, a disclaimer, some type of NDA that nobody else will ever get wind of, between the agreement of them coming into and being an owner of Newcastle United, but then not being able to be Johnny Big Balls to say that the Premier League are against us, and that is what's stopping us becoming number one? I don't know.
It's we're raking over old coals again here. Have PIF lost interest? If they have, well, the sooner they go, the better. Is there any actual proof that they have when we've been outbidden with Isaac still on the books? We've been outbidden, for all these players that we haven't managed to get. That would suggest not. That would suggest that they're still very much in the project. But if you look at other goings on elsewhere, you would think, no, well, why would they be funding the opposition, as it were, if they've got a bigger picture?
It just seems to me, like I said, when we, again, a non-blame culture, but a finger-pointing attitude, and that's where I go directly, because somebody is to blame here. And you're saying about PIF not being invested, us going forward. I don't think they have lost interest. I mean, guys, PIF have not lost interest. We've got reports from Dave, who's
They're
over
relying
there
on people doing their jobs effectively. Who was appointing those people, Dr. Abuasa, Omar?
And that's what I'm saying. It's a case of Darren Eales has been appointed by the guys above, right? And I think this is where we were leading to at the start of the show, because I turned around and I asked the question. I'm going to finish the show because, again, at the end of the day, there isn't much news out there apart from Malik Chow. We are interested in a couple. Somebody has said about Watkins. I mean, Nicholas Jackson seems to be the striker that
raised his.
There's a number of players, but again, until it comes from reputable sources, there's no point in going over it. But there is lots of names being put into the hat. But time is of an essence now, and like I say, our current confidence has got to be Twain, because of what's happened. 1 in 10 isn't a good look. So going forward, this recruitment side of things, nothing's changed. It's the same people negotiating going further into this transfer window. So are we in a situation currently that we can rely on the people doing the job that they've been asked to do?
Is there anybody in the job?
Well, that is the other question I asked yesterday.
That's what I'm saying. It's all very well saying they haven't lost interest. They're relying on other people doing their jobs. Which other people? Because since June the 1st, Mitchell and Eales have been AWOL by all account.
Yeah. Well, we said that. So again, let's retrack a little bit, and I suppose again, I don't want people to lose track of the current structure within Newcastle, because like you said, when you look at the Newcastle structure, and this is from July 24, and as you can see at the bottom, you've got the Andy Howe, assistant head of recruitment. Now we also know in the February of 24, the 1st of February 24, Darren Eales made him director assistant. And if you go on to Transfer Market, you can see that quite easily when you look under the management. Andy Howe, executive assistant of the director. So again, in February, he was promoted
the
to that.
director of recruitment.
Yeah. So again, then he goes on to, he's executive assistant of the director. And that's what I said.
Yeah, the director of recruitment, not the CEO, the director of recruitment.
We haven't got a director of recruitment.
We have Steve Nixon as now head of recruitment.
He's head of recruitment, but he's not a director. He's not even in a management
neither
position.
Of them directors.
No. But what I'm saying is, if you look under the management section, Andy Howe is there, under Darren Eales, under Suds, under Jack Ross, and under Claire Alexander, who's the director of finance. So he's under all of the, is he head of football operations? Because for me,
Andy Howe is Steve Nixon's assistant. It's as simple as that.
Right. Okay. Right. But what I'm saying to you is, Jack Ross has come on board. Right, July the 15th, Jack Ross was appointed head of football operations.
Correct.
So is he the man that's heading up the negotiations? Or has he taken the Mitchell stance by saying it's too late into the window, there's far too much being done, So I'm going to take a back seat because to me, it's Jack Ross that should be dealing with these. If he wants support from Andy Howe and Steve Nixon, fair play. But I have not heard Jack Ross's name mentioned anywhere.
Neither have I. And, we're going round in circles because we don't know who's doing the negotiation. Who is deciding how much we can pay? That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Who is deciding how much we can pay in transfers, in agent fees, and in wages?
It's crazy, isn't it? Because we just don't know.
Like I say, I was hoping that with Sheikh Yasser coming over, this would get resolved PDQ. It would appear that it hasn't.
No, not at all.
Unless, as you say, if Rubens has in fact flown to Germany to try and do a deal, well, it shows he's as good at it as the rest are.
Yeah.
Unless, like I say, because Sesko still hasn't gone to Man United, and if we, do we go in and offer them another 5 million?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Watch
Absolutely.
This space.
It is absolutely crazy. And I think that is where we're at the minute. It's a case of nobody knows who's doing what in this negotiating setup. And again, that's why I come back to the point of, everybody's name being put in a hat and somebody has to have the finger of blame,
but it's still not all bad.
But it's still not all bad, according to the half glass. Well, I suppose with side defence, you're the half glass full. And again, I don't want to be pessimistic about this going forward.
We want a centre back and we want a striker.
Yeah, exactly.
Plenty time to get them.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, thank you all so much. I mean, like I say, again, we've come to this side of it. There is lots of rumours out there about players that we've gone for, bidding for Malik Chow, which was apparently legit, which was knocked back, 30 million euros. But again, like 10% goes to Schalke. So I think they, again, have to go in with a little bit of a higher bang on that. But again, who's negotiating this one? I have not a clue.
Well, there was someone in the chat earlier on mentioned the new sponsorship deal with Guinness.
Yeah, that's Connor's put that one in.
Yeah, that was done about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah,
5
million, wasn't it?
£5 million a year.
Yeah, 5 million. I mean, it's not going to, it's not going to tear up any trees.
It's going to pay somebody's wages.
Yeah, it will pay the wages, but it's not going to tear up any trees, is it?
100 grand a week wages.
And the question you have to ask yourself, and again, I'll go back to it. Darren Eales has put all these bodies in situ.
Yeah.
What is Silverstone doing?
What is Silverstone doing exactly?
Because we've still got a lot of void. And again, if Man City win, which by all accounts, this APT2, very great interview that was done the other day with Keith Patterson. He's very well known to a lot of Geordies. Got a lot of background in law as well. So he obviously has queried this a number of times. If Man City win the APT2, what have we got lined up to go and invest in straight away? Because this is what we should have ready to go, and we've talked about so many names.
Yeah, the only trouble there is it certainly ain't going to come in before the window shuts.
No, it certainly
could put us in a very strong position for January, but by then the season could be tits up.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I say, it is an interesting one, and I suppose that's one for a bit further down the line.
Indeed.
We will have to have a deep look into what's going on. I want to thank everybody for your kind words. I also want to thank the guys.
We've just hit 250 likes.
Thank you so much. Real McCoy, who's gifted twice, 3 times, sorry.
3 times, I think.
Yeah, and Paul S. for gifting as well. Thank you so much. Guys, before you leave, again, it's so important for us to smash the like buttons, subscribe, share, do everything you want to.
Hit the bell.
Hit the bell. We love...
get notified.
Again...
You don't have to rely on YouTube then hitting your feed. If you hit the bell, you'll get every single show.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we've had... Geordie Dan sending us stuff in the background. Connor's been sending us stuff in the background, and Mason. So again, thank you all for keeping us updated while we're live on air. And again, this is how we're starting to manage this thing. We've got some great lads working in the background that nobody out there actually sees, and they just feed us information while we're live. So again, thank you so much. No show tonight, I don't believe, but we will be back tomorrow, potentially with a show with the American Mag at lunchtime, and it'll be back with myself and this young man and the panel on Thursday evening, 9 o'clock.
Night.
Yeah, Thursday night. So if there's anything else, B Mac has
Obviously,
put in the chat
if anything breaks, we'll be live.
Yeah, exactly. B Mac's being funny in the chat there. Man United send 45 million bid for Sandro Tonali. Love it. Listen, Mills Beast, thank you so much. Cheers, guys, all in the chat. Thank you for your support. It's been fantastic. And like I say, just keep us going with them thumbs up, and we will see you on the next one. Until then, it's a goodbye from him.
And it's a goodbye from him. How are the lads?
Lassies and bairns. Have a lovely afternoon, everybody.
Enjoy the sun.